Marketing to everyone is marketing to no one. Growth-focused businesses market to an audience of one.
Let's go. I don't know what comes next, but I couldn't care less. I refuse to feel stressed. There's no fear in my chest. Hit a move of my steps. Walk away from the pain I've been through. This feeling I'm feeling is brand new. This is the moment I break through.
Welcome to 10-Minute Masterclass. I'm your host and lead MC, Trey Sheneman. And on 10-Minute Masterclass, our goal is always to teach you timeless business principles that can be applied to today's business problems. Doesn't matter when I was inside of the various startups that I've worked for or helping build one of the 9-figure brands that I worked inside of, growth was always connected to solving problems in one of the four core areas of growth, the four core drivers of growth: marketing, sales, operations, and leadership. In today's episode, we're going to dive deeper into sales, specifically understanding how to build what's called an ideal customer profile. Yes, an ICP, and I don't mean insane clown posse. I know this is a show that's connected to old school hip hop. That's a fine. I was never really a fan of those guys. So when you hear me say ICP, I'm talking about an ideal customer profile, not the band. Why do ICPs matter? Well, I remember consulting with a brand that thought they had 7 personas. And personas or different kind of customer avatars. And I remember going through an exercise with them where I was sitting with their sales team and they were showing me the scripts that they were using for all of these different personas. And then I started leaning in with them to say, okay, well, walk me through what the close rates are on these various personas, which they did. And then I said, walk me through what the stay rates are for those various personas, which of course they were like, well, you have to talk to customer success, which we did. We got those numbers. And then we said, we need to also understand what their ascension rates are, meaning after they've bought from you, what else do they buy? How long do they stay? What's their long-term value? And when we really leaned into that exercise, we found out that of the 6-7 personas they thought they had, there was really only one persona that bought from them multiple times over. So rather than having a sales team that was scattershot, running rampant all over, we really drilled down into how do we speak to this audience of one and build our business off of the backs of those efforts. And that business was able to scale 250x in the next year. Wild story. Now, they were real small when we started. So 250x sounds like a huge number, but millions of dollars of growth all over just a simple exercise of zeroing in on who their ICP is. So how do we do that? Today's episode is I'm literally just going to walk you through the same set of steps that I walked that team through in discovering who their ideal customer profile is. And my goal is that, you're a busy business owner, right? So I want to be able to cut to the chase for you and tell you the steps to take. So hopefully as soon as you listen to this episode, you can sit with your team, you can refine some of your scripts, really figure out who your audience of one is, and actually start to sell to them, both with your selling function, and hopefully you'll go upstream inside of that marketing function as well with the leads that you're creating and apply this to the marketing side of your business too. But the goal here should be an immediate lift in the ROI of your current efforts. You should see a stronger close rate, and hopefully the conversations actually feel easier for your sales team to have. So let's walk through the 4 steps it takes to build an ICP. Number 1, the first thing you got to do is you got to identify their demographics. Okay. This is normally the step a lot of people will start on. The problem with this is also the step that a lot of people stop on. So they understand that if I'm going to be targeting a specific person, I got to know things like how old are they, how much money do they make, where might they live. If it's a B2B context, you might also know like what industry they work in, their job title, their tenure at their company, so on and so forth. People are able to form that up. And they think that's enough. And to me, that is literally like the foundation level of the pyramid that we're trying to build here up. That's going to ultimately point us to our core ICP. So step 1 is baseline. You got to lay out the demographics about who this person is. Step number 2 is you got to understand the psychographics of who this person is. So demographics oftentimes describe things that are pretty fixed. about the ICP. Psychographics oftentimes describe things that are a little bit more flexible or malleable about the ICP. It's how are they behaving right now? This whole entire section of this is trying to get into the brain waves of the person you're trying to connect with to really understand the biggest pain that they feel, and not only the pain that they feel, but how they talk about that pain when they feel it. That is the outcome of a really good psychographic analysis, is understanding how to describe the same pain in the words that your customer would use. So once you kind of know more about who they are, you understand the words that they use, the pain that they experience, how they talk about it, then the next step is triggers. Pain can live under the waterline in a customer's life for a long time, but many buying decisions are emotional, and normally emotions are connected to a trigger. And so the third step is when people are kind of moving through in marketing, we sort of walk through what's called levels of awareness. That's for another talk, another day. But one of the bottom levels of awareness is people that are solution seeking, meaning they had pain, they got triggered, and they really want somebody to stop it. So I would say one of the greatest exercises you can do is to interview your customers, your most recent customers, and ask them the question of what was the trigger or the significant event that happened in their life that caused them to go looking for you. And if you can identify and generalize or genericize what that triggering event is, you can build a roadmap where your sales team, your outbound team, is looking to try and find people that are having similar events. Your marketing team is looking to help create leads with people that are having similar events, which is going to help your sales process just go a lot smoother. And the second question you want to ask them after the triggering event is what their decision-making process was that they went through. Were they working on did they research multiple providers? Were they more of a one and done type? Was it a spirit of pain in the moment that forced their hand? So again, understanding their triggers and their journey to finding you is a huge part of knowing who your ideal customer is. And then the last part of this is once you've done those 3 steps, you should build an actual profile off that information. And then you should really work to test against that newfound ICP in an iterative manner. Finding your ICP is never a one and done exercise. People change, markets change, so on and so forth. But updating that core kind of profile on your ICP should be something that you and your team do with pretty much a high level of regularity to make sure that you're continuing to refine that language down to the point where many of the brands that I coach right now, their ICP has a name. They've given it. If they're kind of middle of the bullseye, ideal customer is a mid-40s mom of 2 who lives in suburban America, who is trying to figure out how to get her life and her energy back, and she wants new rhythms in her life, and she wants to still have a life even though she has kids, and she's been hiding behind her husband's career, and she's feeling all of this sadness and pain of a life that wasn't well lived. Then you probably want to give her a name like Samantha. I'm making that up. But, Samantha should have a face and a name and a story. And Samantha should come up in your team meetings. She should be who you're writing to, who you're selling to. And that sounds a lot like a client we worked with on their ICP last year. And that's ultimately where they landed. So make sure you're working through these functions and ultimately landing on, again, the middle of the concentric circles of a bullseye, who that target customer is that you can serve. You can serve them today. You can serve them tomorrow. Because the cool thing about when you really nail your ICP is they will become your biggest advocates, and they will help you turn what is typically a very funnel business, a very transactional business, into a relational business, more like a flywheel, where they will go out and tell other people about you. And that's when you really have unlocked the growth that finding an ICP can bring. I hope you got a lot out of this episode. I hope you will apply these steps and identify who your ideal customer profile is immediately with your team. Until we see you next time, I'll catch you on the flip side of 10-Minute Masterclass.